What's up, guys? Devin Zander here with Clayton Johnson. We got some rowdy fucking music in the background. We can't hear what it sounds like because we don't have the headphones on, but I'm Devin, that's Clayton, and we are the
Rowdy
motherfucking. Let's turn the music on.
Yeah.
And we hope you guys enjoyed that. You know, that was
The worst intro music ever? I don't know. I couldn't hear it.
it comes pre-programmed into our Rodecaster Pro.
I don't know if that was the right
sound.
button, dude. Maybe that was the laugh track
No,
button?
that was definitely
Okay.
the right button.
Okay.
But look,
All right.
guys, earlier today, well, first off, we both got the fucking Rowdy Boys hoodies
that's
on
right,
now.
that's
Let's
right.
go, let's go.
Extra
I forgot
rowdy.
mine last week because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But guys, we got a really cool episode today. I'm actually really excited for this because just before recording, we were going through our list of topics, and Clayton said something, and it made me think about like how we could grow our companies, and we discussed focusing on one product, things like that. But we got to this topic, and Clayton, and then we actually just, well, I guess I'll take a step back. When we got on this topic, we talked about how we could achieve growth. We talked about the goals we need to set, and then a story came up with you about goal setting.
Yeah.
And you knew an idea that the company wanted to do wasn't the best one because you know how to reverse engineer goals. And it seems not a lot of other people have that talent, how to reverse engineer goals and see if they're even feasible before you get started, or if you need to scrap this so you can focus on something that is, you know, actually doable, right? So I don't do my goals this way. We just break down like kind of steps to get there. But I know there's a lot of math you can do to reverse engineer goals and make sure that you can, that it's just possible to hit them in the first place. So I wanted to get on with you, bro. See the process, learn it for myself so I can get on your level, bro, because you are fucking killing the game.
Well, thank you, bro. Well, yeah, man. So today's episode, let's talk about reverse engineering goals. And I think this concept is really powerful. And I think there's quite a lot to say about it. But if you do understand how to actually reverse engineer's goals, like break them down into their parts, understand how they interact with each other, then you're really going to understand, you're going to be able to understand what you need to do in order to actually achieve the goals.
Or where your focus needs to be,
Right.
and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. So, when I think about it, there's a lot of different ways you can think about it. But the first thing I'll start with is, whenever I think about goals, I break them down into three parts, right? And it is, the first part is you got to know exactly where you want to go. So you have to know the
Like
destination.
with a number, though, not
Right.
It needs to be quantifiable, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, for sure. You want to have the destination in mind, because if your goal is just growth, then that's how do you know when you've achieved growth? You don't, right? So first thing is you got to know exactly where you're going to go. Second, and then the second thing that you need to know is the steps to get there, right? So have to know what are the actions that are going to need to take to actually get to that goal.
Yeah.
And then the third thing you need is the time to actually execute the steps, right?
The end place, the time and it's quantifiable, so it's a number. It's
Yep.
not qualitative, it's quantitative.
Yeah.
And then we have the steps that we're going to take to get there,
Right.
and how long we're going to spend to get in there.
Well, when I say
Or
the
when
time,
we
I
wanna
mean
be there
when
by.
are you going to actually execute the steps? That's what I mean by the time.
So a timeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can say like, I want to do it by this time, but what I'm saying is like, people, this is one of the most common problems that I see is like, you might know how to do something, but then you don't do it. Why? Because you didn't actually dedicate the time to doing the steps. And what happens is, for a lot of people, is that once you put something in your calendar, I'm literally talking like, when are you going to do the things? Like, you have to put it in your calendar. And people realize that, shit, if I put everything I'm supposed to be doing in my calendar is packed. I don't have any time to actually execute this. So then you have to say like, well, normally you would have just been like, oh, I didn't have time to do it. I guess I just didn't get it done.
Yeah.
Well, when you actually schedule it in, then you're like, okay, well, I guess this is the time when I'm actually going to execute the steps. And what I find is that, if you're not achieving your goals, you're missing one of the three usually. You don't know where you're going to go, you don't know how to get there, or you didn't actually put it on your calendar when you're going to actually do it, right?
Yeah, that's huge right there.
So I think that's powerful enough to like get you really going, to be honest. Like, if you think about your goal, where you want to go, and you get all those three steps, that'll move you really far. But then it's like, what's going to be realistic? If you have a really big goal, you got to break it down and say like, what's realistic? Because you might be able to do those things, you might be able to start on it, but be incredibly disappointed like 6 months of the way through because you didn't actually do enough.
And I think something important to talk about here, because this is something I was actually thinking about today. I was thinking about some of our customers, and I was thinking about the difference between a $2 cost per link click and like a $1 cost per link click. So in my mind, we've made a lot of money, so I'm like, oh, it's just $1 difference in cost per link click. That's not that huge. But then I realized, like, no, that's twice as much. So your profit could be cut in half from that. So again, when we're setting goals, people will say things like, okay, well, I'm getting 200 customers a month right now. I'd like to get 400. Now, 200 isn't like a huge number because people think about it and they're like, well, some companies have tens of thousands of customers. I just want to add 200. But what you have to realize is you're literally doubling your customer base. That's not that easy of a thing to do, especially if you've been doing it all this time and you've only got to 200, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people will think that these goals are realistic because the numbers seem small, or it seems like a small scale, or because they're playing on a small scale. But you have to realize within context of your business and whatever it is, like spending $1 on McDonald's isn't a lot, but spending an extra $1 for every cost per link click, that's a fucking ton if the original was, $1. So I think people really need to think about that and understand that when they're setting realistic goals as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like what you're saying is exactly true. You get to that point after you understand like the basic conceptual model of those 3 parts that you do a goal with, but inside of the steps, that's where you can actually start making a model for how to get to where you want to go. So that's kind of like where we can start. And what
he's going to lay the model on us, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So I'm trying to find a way to make it really concise in explaining it, right? But let's just say that you wanted to get to like a sales goal, right?
Yeah.
You say you have a certain number of closes or certain number of sales in a single month, right?
We want 100 sales this month.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to figure out, okay, you have 100 sales, and you can figure out what's your average sale price, and you can figure out what revenue that is. So for instance, you could even start with the revenue. So start the revenue at the end. You want to get to this revenue. Okay, how many sales is that, right? Okay. At average price. And you can figure out how many closes you're going to need.
Yeah. So in this example, let's just say the product is $5,000. We want to get to $500,000.
I'm going to mess up this math, so you're going to have to help me.
Okay.
All right, so
so
you can figure out how many sales you're going to need, okay? And then let's say we're trying to figure out what's the equation, right? And so what are the components? How do you get to a sale? Well, let's say you have a sales guy, right? And then sales guy closes X percentage of the calls he takes, right? So you could say, if you needed 100 closes and he closes, 50%, so that means you need to book 200 appointments for him.
Yeah.
All right. If as long as the math holds true, right? So you book 200 appointments for him. Okay, well, how many attendees on your webinar? Let's say the way you get him appointments is you have a webinar that gets appointments for him. And at the end of the webinar, you say, if you want to get at this product, you need to get on a call with us or whatever, okay? Yeah. And so you figure out how many attendees usually translates into an appointment. So now you have an attendance goal, right? And then you're like, okay, usually only 30% of the people that sign up for the webinar are actually attend. So we need to triple that, to get to the
600.
Yeah, to the actual goal of how many people are going to sign up. And then you figure out where you're going to get the signups from. Let's say we get them from paid ads. All right, how much money does it cost to get somebody to actually sign up for that webinar? And you can say, okay, and work the model backwards in a spreadsheet and be like, if I want to get this many closes, this is approximately the amount based on the current model that I'm going to have to spend on Facebook ads in a single month to get to that revenue number, right? Yeah. Okay, does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Sorry, it was like a long explanation, but you can see basically you start with the end in mind and you figure out what are the components that go into that said thing, and you flesh it out mathematically based on what your current rates are, what the model is, and then you can understand what kind of inputs you're going to need to put in the beginning to get the output that you actually want.
And that's huge because now you know exactly what you're like. A lot of people will go in and they're like, well, I'm just going to try to get, in this instance, let's say webinar registrants, and after I run the webinar, then maybe I'll know if it was profitable or not. But using this model, you can know exactly what your target cost per registrant needs to be because you've reverse engineered the whole process.
Yeah.
So it gives people, like, this is how you make a real business, essentially. Not one that's just guessing or trying to figure out, trying to make it work. This is just using math logic
Yeah.
to figure it out before you even get started.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And like that was a description of like a longer funnel, right? That had like 5 steps.
There's
and
actually
5
even more
things.
steps in that too. 'Cause
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have the call show up rate as well.
Sure.
So how many
Yeah.
people even show up to the call, right?
Yeah.
So you got to break it down even more.
Yeah, 100%. That's why like simplicity is great. Like if you want to have a really successful business, the more simple you can make it, the better. Because there's all these mechanics that are like could change things all over the place. And if your business is really complicated, it's going to be really difficult to figure out what leverage you need to pull here and there to like actually get the results. I mean, that's happened to me in the past, and because at this point of the business, it's actually pretty big, right? And there's lots of different products to sell, and all kinds of different ways people come in the funnel, and all kinds of things. There's not like one proven path, the only path that the people can get to a sale, and so that makes it kind of hard at times to figure out what levers to pull. So having a really simple business model makes a lot of sense.
I was thinking the same thing. As you know, the viewers don't know, but we struggle with that as well because there's so many front-end products and all these different things. And it's confusing to keep up with, and then you don't know what to mail out or when or all that stuff. So we're getting rid of everything in our business and just having that one product. Oh, it's going to be so glorious.
Yeah, and that has way more benefits than just like, it can be scary to eliminate things that you think are working, you know what I mean? But I think that the net benefit that you will get from having massive amounts of simplicity is, what's up?
I'm just looking at you through the thing.
Yeah. The net benefit that you're going to get from having simplicity in your business is going to be way higher than the elimination of the other things. Reason being that you're going to have so much focus. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The problem with having so many things is that you're doing everything like kind of mediocrely, right?
Yep. Because you got the limited mental bandwidth. I have to explain this to so many people. I'm like, look, you're fucking it all up because you're trying to do so much at once.
Yeah. And just think about if you're concentrating on one funnel, I mean, how much better can you make it? Because what's going to happen, pretty much like every time I've tried to do this, you set the goal, and it's usually going to be pretty big, right? You're going to reverse engineer it.
Actually achieve.
Yeah, you're going to reverse engineer it all the way back to what you're going to have to do, and you're going to realize, like, dude, I need like so many leads to get this done. Like, I'm going to have to spend like $100,000 a month, or 200, or 500,000
not even enough leads in the universe for this.
Yeah, like I'm going to need so many leads. Like I'm going to have to 10x or 100x my budget right now, and that's just not realistic.
Yeah,
but that's okay, because then you go, well, if I would not have reverse engineered this, I would have just like gone at it and then been really disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm literally talking like, get a spreadsheet, try to find all of the different steps in it, and then reverse engineer it back to get an idea of what it's going to take. Now, it's not always going to be like that. Like, there's always like what happens in reality and what happens month to month changes. Like, so your numbers are not going to be perfect, but the benefit of it is it gives you a realistic picture. Like, is this going to be, what kind of level am I going to have to be at?
Yeah.
And what might happen is you go like, wow, I thought that we would just like run ads here and it would probably work. And now I know we need a completely different mindset of the strategy of how we're going to actually make this happen.
I think there's another really big plus to this that we haven't discussed yet, which is that by reverse engineering, it'll also tell you which levers to pull to get the biggest benefit. Because in your example, we're talking about, okay, X percentage of people show up here, X percentage of people show up here, X percentage of people show up here, or whatever. And all these different paths in the funnel. Well, if you have this data, you can look at it and you're like, well, we only have a 2% conversion at this point. So if we can just add an extra 1% on top of that, that is a 33% increase. Maybe that is where we should putting all of our focus within the business right now, or where I should be spending my time. Because you want to look for that low-hanging fruit where you can get a big return with as minimal work as possible, and reverse engineering allows you to do that.
Dude, that's exactly is the perfect point to make right here, because you're gonna look at this and you're gonna realize that if you just only pull, like, I see each one of these little parts of the equation a lever that you can pull, right? You could, like, if you got your sales team to be insane closers, like just the best closer ever, like so good that not only do they get the person on the phone to close, but then they get 2 other referrals from that same lead to come in and they close them both. Like, you could get your salespeople to be A+, but that would be really hard. You could also get 100% of people. You could try to get 100% of people to attend your webinar through like all kinds of gimmicks. Also really hard. You could also just leave everything the same and just drive a zillion leads through the funnel. Also really hard. But what happens if you tweak each one of these like little steps, you find it's actually realistic.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody focus on, okay, we need to get the leads to this level. And then also we need to get, like you're saying, a $1 difference. Like if we can optimize the cost down and the cost per lead down, then that makes the equation a lot better. How do we do that? Well, we're gonna split test this landing page.
We run meme ads.
Yeah, we're gonna try out some meme ads. We're gonna split test this landing page until we work that cost per lead down from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4, right? And then that makes it work. And then after that, we're gonna add text messaging to get people to sign
show
up.
up,
Right.
too.
So the show up rate goes from 11% to 20% or whatever.
Yep.
It's just each part of the equation, you can pull like a little bit of it in a realistic manner, and that's what's actually going to make it work.
I got to know, did the meme ads work for you guys at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's early tests, right? So I want to see if that actually produces profit. But yeah, I've seen some good click-through rates. The problem is my like Facebook creatives, like I need some ideas on Facebook creatives to get that, that lever.
I created some templates today. I'll send them to you. And
Okay.
we can get them. Maybe if you guys sign up for our email list, I can send them to you too.
Yeah.
There's this website. It's crazy. It's called
Rowdyboys.net. Boom.
And really all it is a form to sign up and receive our handsome faces in your email once or twice a week. Plus, maybe I'll give you ad templates, feet pics, dog pics.
Feet pics. Yeah, that's what everybody wants.
Brutus was in the office today. That's why you saw that little yellow bed. That was
yeah.
Brutus's little bed. He came to the office today. I could send you pictures of him snoozing around the office.
But only if you sign up. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't, how are you going to get the updates?
Yeah.
These are the things you miss out. But I'll send those to you, and we can work on your iCreative.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys have a copy?
Dude, okay. Well, I actually did want to come back to what you said and touch on it. When you said that, you want to figure out what the easy lever to pull is, I think it's really interesting. I was recently having a conversation with somebody that runs an agency, and what they told me was like, we kept everything the same, and we recently just updated our pricing. And what's crazy is like our top line revenue, it went up a little bit, but our bottom line revenue skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
And, just because if you were to do the math, you'd be like, well, it's not that big of a deal. But when you whittle it down, all of that extra price increase, they didn't increase anything else. So it was 100% profit,
It's
right?
just profit.
So the lever that they pulled, it wasn't like, oh, we need a whole new lead generation strategy. We need conversion rate optimized. Like literally they just said like, can we up our pricing a little bit? Will the market respond? Will our conversion rates drop? Conversion rates did not drop. They just raised their pricing, and they were able to dramatically increase their profit.
Yeah, that's the easiest lever to pull because it requires no work except changing a number. And what a lot of people don't realize is they could charge exorbitantly more. In fact, I think Alex Hermosi was saying he had a stat where he tripled he like 5x'd his price and his conversion rate dropped, but it didn't drop 80%. Like you're 5xing, right? But your conversion rate would have to drop like 80% to get that. I guess it's the same method. It's whatever, you know. And it's just like an 80% conversion rate drop is a lot. Like that's probably not going to happen. And even if it does, then you're still at break even, right?
Yeah.
So raising your prices is typically always a good move. Most of you are watching are probably undercharging by 2 to 3x what you could actually charge. And, I've been telling you, we're not selling anything under $5,000 anymore.
Yeah.
Come November 1st, we will not have a single product under $5,000.
I love that.
Like, raising your products, our prices, just read Alex Hermosi's book. I don't talk about it. It's the number one book in sales and marketing, by the way, on Amazon. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Well, I love the idea of raising prices, period. And I think that people just need to stop being a fucking pussy and do it, right? Because that's pretty much
Clayton,
it.
you're turning me on when you talk like that.
But an alternative to straight jacking up your prices. Actually, I want to talk about this a little bit.
Let's do it.
Have you raised your prices previously?
Yeah, with HCOM, we've raised it. Multiple times?
Okay, when you're selling and everything was going well, and the idea got brought up to raise your pricing, how did you feel about that? Were you just like, okay, it looks fine?
Like, fuck yeah, let's try it.
Okay.
We went from like $1,250 to $1,750 up to $2,500. We actually raised the price to $5,000 too. And we weren't selling enough at that
Okay,
price.
so you hit the market capacity
well,
for price flexibility there.
I actually think it would have been fine. It's just we had never hired a sales team before. Alex hadn't,
Okay.
and we hadn't at that point.
Yeah.
So we went with this guy. I can't remember. He does like ClickFunnels. He trained ClickFunnels or something, and he was an all right guy. He was a good guy. I don't want to say anything bad about him that was bad. It's just that like we tried to hire an agency to do our sales calls.
Yep.
And I would never do that again.
Okay.
And so I think it actually could have worked at 5K. We were making sales, just not to the level that we wanted. And we also didn't have like we didn't even try hard enough. We didn't go to the sales reps and walk through the training with them and go through everything with them and get on call with them and explain the product to them. We're just like, here's what it is. So you get out there, sell it.
So like if you did the math on that, you'd be like, okay, well this is a lever that we could pull because you could just see the conversion rates dropping because of the sales team, right? Or whatever. So yeah, man. And what I was gonna say is that sounds like you were chill with raising the price, right?
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, hopefully some people are like me. Hopefully not, they're not like me, but I was always deathly afraid of raising pricing. So if you're out there and you're deathly afraid of raising pricing, we've raised prices multiple times, and guess what happened, Devin?
Nobody canceled.
Dude, didn't matter at all. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter at all. So highly encourage people to pull that lever. And if you're reverse engineering your goals and that's potential, that's a lot easier. Like you were saying, it's a lot easier that's like the easiest thing. You just change the buy now form, or in the price on the sales page.
You just log into Stripe or ClickFunnels, pay whatever you're using, process payments, and just change a number. Boom.
You didn't have to become an ad running genius, didn't have to split test anything. You just literally changed the price. So it's exactly, right, man. You want to think of what are the easiest levers you can pull to get to the final goal, because you can pull a lot of levers.
And just while we're on this topic of raising price is probably like one of the best things you could do, because then you don't have to acquire as many customers, and it's just less work because you have less customers, and your customers are higher quality, so you're happier working with them.
Yeah,
so always keep that in
and you're
mind.
Seen as a premium brand that's differentiated from everyone else. There's like a million reasons to have the premium pricing.
And on one note too, in case people are scared of this is another thing that I've noticed is actually our more expensive customers are less needy.
Yeah, 100%.
Our cheaper customers, like the ones who buy our cheapest products, are the neediest ones. Ones who are spending $7, $47, things like that. They're so needy. But people who spend like $5,000 or $10,000, they just go through and implement, and they're so busy implementing that they can't bother you. They don't bother you.
Yeah.
And then once they get like stuck or they need an opinion, then they'll come to you. But they don't expect hand holding and all that along the way. Maybe it's because they're just much more invested because of the price or something like that. But it's always better to have high ticket customers.
Yeah, and if you don't have a high ticket product or service right now, and
maybe you can just hire us. We'll make one for you.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that there's an alternative to actually just jacking up your prices, which is to create another offer that at a higher price point, right? And we've actually done that many times in our business. And what I've found, man, is that at one point in time, the highest price thing that you could buy from us was like $200. And then what we did is we took that product and we doubled like the size of it. You just got more stuff. Yeah. It was $500. And guess what? Somebody bought that. And then we came out with a new product, and the highest price of that one was like 800 something, and somebody bought it. And like, dude, it just kept going up. It's like $1,000 and then a $4,000 package. And every time we come up with something new, somebody would buy it. And so we started like being like, what can we do? We literally came out with like a $25,000 package. Somebody bought it. A $50,000 package. Dude, I was like blowing my mind. Like it was almost a game at that point where we're like, dude, let's just offer something crazy big. And so yeah, man, it's an alternative to just jacking up your prices. Or you can do this in combination, but I think that every business should come out. If someone has ever bought your top package, then you need to come out with a package that's more expensive, and just to see if somebody buys it. And when somebody buys it, come out with a more expensive package, because I think you are only limited by your mind. You know what I mean? You can literally do.
Bro, I'm learning so much from Psycho-Cybernetics right now.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about that actually. But
I haven't finished the book yet, but when I'm done, we can.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to ask, with the $50,000 package, that was sold over the phone, or someone just bought it?
No, it's definitely sold over the phone.
Okay. I was going to say, dude, someone's just browsing your site and spends $50K.
Yeah.
That would blow my fucking mind.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. But hey,
it feels
works
that way because your sales reps are doing it. Like, I'll see the $10,000 sales coming in and stuff, And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I just made 10K. Let's go,
Yeah.
That's what's up. Now it's time to get to work, though, and service them. Well, I think that's all we got on the topic, unless you got anything else to add about reverse engineering.
Yeah, I do.
all right.
Just one more thing. Like, we really talked about business here in this, but I think you can apply these models to lots of different things. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think you should reverse engineer
A lot of
all
stuff in
kinds
life
of stuff.
is math. So
Yeah.
it's really easy. You can even apply it to dating. Like if I want to get laid
exactly.
this many times, I know that my close rate with girls is this percent when I go out to the
Yep.
club, or if I'm on Tinder, out of all the girls I message, I
How
get
many
X
messages
many
you
responses
get?
back.
Yep. How many responses? How many responses turn into a date? How many
Meetups
dates turn into?
sex or whatever it
Yeah.
is you wanted to.
Okay, that's pretty crass. But
Dude,
hey,
we're
yeah.
fucking rowdy.
Yeah.
You have a shirt that
Hey,
says
you
you're
know,
rowdy
this
on
is-
it.
thi-
You're being,
this-
you're being a pussy.
This is no moral judgments. You could use that same math to find your wife, or not your wife, but a girlfriend, right? How many people turn into a girlfriend or something?
boyfriend, okay, don't leave.
Yeah,
ladies,
girlfriend,
or,
boyfriend,
the
whatever.
guys out there who want to date.
But the
men
idea
or
is to
whatever.
break down the math of how much it's going to take. And I was going to say, from like we just went through, like a weight loss.
Oh, I
kind of thing.
definitely
Yeah.
did that with my weight loss, because you need 3,500 calories a pound. I was counting my calorie deficit every single day. How am I going to get to my weight goal? And I
Yep.
knew exactly how much I needed to work out every single day.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like literally, if you want to lose weight, you can mathematically engineer it and figure out, you have your current weight here and you have your goal weight. And you know exactly how much you're going to need to lose. And so you're going to figure out what your BMR is, like how much you're actually, burning per
I
day.
still don't know what mine is.
Your average, daily calorie burn based on your
Yeah.
activity, your how tall you are, how old you are, all that kind of stuff. Figure out the caloric deficit to get into that range every single week, and then you can map it out. It's like how many weeks based on a 1 to 2% body weight drop
Yeah.
is it gonna take for me to reach my goal? And you might find out, hey, that it's gonna take 10 weeks, or maybe it's gonna take 15, maybe it's gonna take 20, maybe it's gonna take 50 weeks,
Yep.
right? 50 weeks to reach your goal weight.
But you know
But
that, and you can
here's the
rely on
thing.
that. And
Yes.
there's comfort in that.
What it does is sets that realistic expectation, because if you just started and you're 30 days in, like that first 30 days of you being on a diet is like hard, and you get to the end of the first 30 days, you realize you've only lost like 3, 4, or 5 pounds, and you got like 20 more to go. You're
Pretty
gonna
healthy right there, though.
you're gonna be like, this is too much. But if you actually start from the beginning and you know how long it's gonna take, you set those expectations. There is this that expectations is so big, like mentally,
Yeah,
like,
because it's what keeps you going.
Exactly.
If you have the right expectations. If your expectations are wrong, you'll give up on all kinds of things.
yeah. So I always make this analogy is like, have you ever like gone and waited for like the subway or like a train or something?
Hells
If
no.
you're like in New York or whatever back in the day, you go down to the subway and you're sitting there waiting for the train, and the train is like, when is this thing coming? Like, and people get really frustrated. And what they did is they just put a sign there that says like, train is coming in 7 minutes. And so you get there and you're like, 7 minutes is a long time, but at least you know what to expect,
Yep.
right? If you don't know what to expect, you're just sitting there with anxiety the entire time. It applies to almost everything. So if you can set those expectations correctly by reverse engineering, then boom, baby, you're gonna know so much more with so much more clarity what you have to do, what the expectation should be, and what your action should be. Boom.
That gives a fucking right.
Yeah.
And I also want to talk. We should do. We actually have an episode on our list about losing weight. We should do that sometime, because I think that'd be a really beneficial episode, even though people probably don't care.
Yeah.
What I want to
Well, if you do care,
though,
leave it in the.
yeah, if you do want to see that, leave it in the comments. But I do want to say, like, if you want to lose weight, you shouldn't you shouldn't get obsessed with diets, trends, workouts, or anything like that. I think the most important thing to do is really just look at the math, like we discussed earlier, because anybody can lose weight. It is just fucking math.
It's a caloric deficit.
And when you get caught up in diets or workouts or like these trends or anything, it kind of gives you a scapegoat when it's not working. You're like, oh, it's the diet's fault or it's the plan's fault or anything like that. No, it's your fucking fault. You didn't follow the math. Use the fucking math and you will never lose. I know that you probably say, well, it's easier said than done, but I'm a realist, not an idealist. And the truth is it's calories in, calories out.
Yep.
Follow the math and you can do that. But if you want to see an episode on that, because it is something that we're actually pretty passionate about. I would say
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if you're as passionate as
No,
I
it's,
am,
it's,
but
it's definitely cool if you can crack the code. It seems like this
Yeah.
like thing that you're like I have no idea how to do it. It's like it's just out there. You can't touch it. If you just break it down like that, you can see what it's going to take, and then you can do it. And
yeah,
it's,
dude.
and it's
And
easy. Yeah,
I'm down like fucking 100 pounds from where I was at one point.
that's
so
crazy.
It's fucking
dude.
huge for me.
It's crazy.
And I'm so happy. I'd love to share that with you guys. So if you're interested, leave a comment below. But
Yeah, reverse engineer those goals, baby. Boom.
fucking rowdy boys. All
Yeah.
right, so let's go a little. What goes into a goal? So we have the destination, right, which
Yep.
is quantitative, not qualitative.
Right.
We have the steps that we need to take to get there.
Exactly.
And then we have
the time to do
which-
those steps.
which means putting that shit in your calendar. Okay.
Yeah, when are you actually
And
gonna execute this?
I think something that I would add is just a timeline. I always want to set.
Yeah.
And something important. I was actually talking to my therapist about this. Is you should break them down into like sprints, like 7-day or 14-day sprints, because we as a society have really bad ADHD. So we want those instant results, like we're talking about earlier, like that's our expectation is instant results.
Yep.
So if your goal is over like 90 or 120 days, that's a really long fucking time. But instead, if you do it piece by piece over 7 days, 14 or even 30 days, you're going to feel a lot better and you're not going to give up. And it goes the same thing with weight loss. So, I lost 1 pound this week. That's great. That's healthy.
That's on my schedule.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So stuff like that. I want to increase my customers by 5,000. Don't look at the 5,000 goal. Look at how many you need to add every single week to get there and focus on that. But
Yes, sir.
that is something that I think I would add to it, and then make sure those time frames are short. But so that's what goes into the goal, and then reverse engineering is just seeing what the end step is, and
Yep.
then going through all the little things in the process and breaking down the math behind that.
Yep.
And
Do it in a Google Doc. Do it in a Google spreadsheet.
do it in Excel. Don't do it in a Google Doc. Jesus. And now I think I have a question for everybody.
Okay.
Guys, if you haven't yet liked, commented, subscribed, and rang the motherfucking bell on YouTube, what the fuck are you doing? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Fine. No, look, you're an all right person. You're just confused. You don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know how to find the button. Actually, fuck it, bro. I'm gonna buy a Final Cut plugin after this that is gonna allow me to show them right where the fucking button is.
Yeah.
So that's coming.
Shitty.
Don't worry. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell. If
Yes.
you are on Apple Podcasts, make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star review. We always appreciate those. Use the text so we know how you feel. All right, if you're on Spotify, just subscribe and go over to all the other platforms and do the cool stuff. And then don't forget to head over to rowdyboys.net, sign up for the email list, and get cool shit from us. Clayton?
Yeah. Rowdy boys.
Oh, wait. No, that's not right. That didn't sound right.
No, it didn't sound right. Sorry about
What's
that.
the right one?
Rowdy boys.
Sounds a bit better. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you guys.